And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions.
Hello, welcome to the Launchpad. I'm your host, Harry Washington, and this show is sponsored by Pursuing the Dream Corporation. Those of you unfamiliar with Pursuing the Dream Corporation, Pursuing the Dream Corporation is a nonprofit organization that encourages students to pursue degrees and careers in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. Today's segment is going to focus on technology, and in particularly, we're going to focus on how students can prepare for technology careers. Our first guest today is Dr. Darrell Stone from Bowie State University. Dr. Stone, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now tell our guests, give us, I guess, a little bit of background on you.
Okay. Well, I got to start that I was a student at Prince George's Community Schools, elementary, middle school, high school, Friendly High School to be exact. Bowie State University is where I got my undergraduate degree in computer science, Bowling Green and Ohio State University. And then I got my PhD from George Washington University in Washington, D.C.
Now, as a assistant professor, what courses do you teach at Bowie? Is it undergrad courses or graduate courses?
Primarily undergrad courses. I teach computer programming, C++. I teach internet programming and database programming.
Now, what influenced you to enter the field of technology?
Actually, at Bowie State University, it's sort of like a family feeling, and so you get some of the personal touch. And I was actually pulled aside by one of my professors who said I was taking a computer programming class as an elective, and she said that you should really consider taking this as a major because you're, one, doing well, and two, there was a lack of students in that area. And
now, what about as a kid? Was there any interest in technology as a kid? And what inspired that?
Really, playing computer computer games
Gotcha.
Was the interest that sort of drew me to that, and it wasn't until I got to college where I really understood that there was programming that went on behind the scenes that made that game actually work.
Now, how has Bowie State prepared students for IT workforce?
At Bowie State, we try to stay on top of what's current in computers, and that's pretty tough because things change rapidly, and so we now have majors such as cybersecurity. We're looking into mobile computing, video gaming, which I just alluded to. We look into that, and so on that end of things, as far as of attracting students and parents, a lot of times want to know for their children what can they major in. We stay abreast of what's going on, and then on the other end, once we get a student at Bowie State University, we do a lot of things to sort of retain a student and get them through to graduation. So we have tutoring centers, and we do things like peer tutoring. Students who have been in college for a year or two can help students out who are just arriving on campus. So we do a lot of things to get the students and then to keep the students and get them through to graduation.
Now, just in your opinion, what's been some of the biggest struggles for some of the students that you've experienced?
Some of the biggest struggles are the major itself. It's a tough major, and I tell my students that on day number one is that it's not easy. A lot of times, either the student or the parent sees dollar signs because computer science, computer technology, and yes, you will earn those dollars because it doesn't come easy. It's tough, and so the first time they're faced with a tough program where they thought that, oh, I'm going to go to the caf and get something to eat at 5, and then I'm going to go work on my program. Well, if you're working on your program at 3, you might just be so into getting that program to work that you forget that it's time to go eat at 5 or 6 o'clock. You look up and it's 7, 8 o'clock.
Gotcha. So more so time management. Students struggle with the time management aspect.
Yes, yes. On day one, I tell all my students that it's two things you got to do, and I think just in life in general, but it's time and thinking. That this class or this major calls for time and thinking. And again, I think that goes to just life in general. If you think about it, what do you spend most of your time doing? And if it's playing video games, then you're probably going to be one of the best video games player.
Right.
But if it's actually developing video games, then you're going to be one of the best computer programmers.
Gotcha.
Which one's going to make you that money that you want?
Now the programs at Bowie State,
Yes.
do they focus more on hardware or software? So I want to be clear for our guests.
Yes, we
both.
focus primarily on the software side.
Gotcha. Okay.
We don't have electrical engineering
Gotcha.
at Bowie State, but we do offer a program where you can take 2 years at Bowie State and then transfer over to College Park, UMBC, and go from there in electrical engineering.
Now, what advice would you give a student who may be struggling, who says, well, I'm not really necessarily interested in going to a formal college, or a 4-year college, or a 2-year college? What advice would you give to that person?
I run a summer camp at Bowie State for middle school and high schoolers, and I tell the parents on day one and at the closing ceremony that the majority of what we do is free. There is some things that, like the robots, for example, that may cost, but like I tell the parents, if a robot costs $280 and you're buying your son's, $150 Nike shoes, then let's spend some time, some money on education.
Right.
And go ahead and get that robot.
Right.
But things like some of the software we use, for example, Scratch. Is some software that's early development for elementary to middle school students to learn how to create video games.
Gotcha.
And if you search the internet, there's so much that's just free out there. There's applications out there that allow you to create apps on your cell phone. And we do these things at the camp, and parents are surprised to find out that that software is actually free.
Wow. Now, I guess not dating myself, man. Growing up, the video games now compared to the video games, then compared to the video games now are totally different.
Yes.
And I'm sure most of your students that come into Bowie State have that same fascination of that I'm going to create the graphics that are similar to what's current. How do you get them to see that this field is more expansive than just video games? It's a lot of programming. It's very involved, and like you said, even time management. I just want to go back to that. How do you make that relevant for students?
Well, what we do is explain to them, for instance, the classes that I teach now are primarily our 1, 2, 3, CS 1, 2, 3. There's studies that have shown that those gateway classes need professors in there that's going to give the students a better chance at staying in the major. And so we explain to them early on that if you're learning critical thinking and how to get through computer science 1, 2, and 3, that then once you get through your freshman, sophomore year, the world is yours within the realm of computer science, computer technology, because you've learned now to be a critical thinker, and you can apply that to either creating video games, cybersecurity, programming, testing programs, building information systems, ATM machines, so forth and so on.
Are there any programs that you would suggest to parents or our viewers that focus particularly on technology and can help improve student skills?
Yes. Again, another thing that I tell parents, and I know I have children and they're in sports, and that's great. I definitely push that. But at the same time, I enjoy when parents go out and they put their kids in like robotic teams, like Lego First, programming, the BDPA, Black Data Processing Association. They have a program where they're every Saturday they practice, just like a sport. They practice how to write computer programs, and they go to national programming competitions. Actually, one is going to be held next week at BDPA National Conference, and they compete. And so it's good to see the parents there supporting their students on the athletic field and then also in an academic competition.
So now, in closing this segment, how can parents and educators influence students to become more interested in technology if they're not already interested in those fields?
I'd had to lean back on a study. A professor, Dr. Albert Bandura, talked about self-efficacy, and there's 4 things there, and one is, 4 factors. One is the mastery, and if they're good and you see that potential early on, then you got to run with it. Now, if you can't play basketball, you can do these other 3 factors all you want, but you wouldn't be able to become a good basketball player. But it's the same thing in computer science. If you see that interest and you you put them in that training, that's great. The second thing is the vicarious, and that is if I see others that can do it. So seek out someone who's in computers, either an uncle, grandmother, someone who's doing something with computer programming, and they can then say, oh, well, if Dr. Stone at Bowie State can do it, I can do it. Someone from PG County did it, I can do it.
Right.
The third one would be the verbal persuasion. Start to say positive things to your kids.
Gotcha.
Start to say, you're a great programmer, you're great at math. Tell them positive things.
Okay.
The negative stuff, you got to shy away from.
Okay.
That can make a bigger negative impact than even saying something positive.
Okay.
And then the fourth thing is just the environment, physiological component of it. Just being in that atmosphere, coming up on a college campus, trying to get to a summer program. Again, we make these efforts a lot in our community in sports, but we don't do it in academics. And it's not all the parents. There's plenty of parents that they're looking for summer camps, and I get plenty of phone calls. But I think more need to do that. And hopefully that answers your question, that these parents have to know that these programs are out there. I mean, President Obama is talking about a gap of these are the number of people who are ready for these jobs that we have in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but we need this many. So there's that gap up here, and that's what we're trying to do, is fill that gap by 2012.
Right. And we'd like to thank Dr. Stone for joining us. To learn more about all the information that he mentioned, view our credits, we'll be back. Hi, I'm Harry Washington, president of Pursue a Dream Corporation. Pursue a Dream Corporation is a nonprofit organization that encourages students to pursue degrees and careers in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. Those you are familiar with those terms, it's STEM. Twice a year, we host our Career Choice Program, which is a college preparation program for ages 10 through 18. Students get an opportunity to meet STEM professionals, attend workshops, win prizes, and learn more about these careers. So join us on October the 5th at the ARC in Southeast Washington, D.C. I look forward to seeing you. Welcome back. I'm your host, Harry Washington. And again, this segment is dedicated to technology, and particularly speaking about how universities are preparing students for their technology careers. Today we're joined by Dr. Wright with DeVry University. Dr. Wright, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Harry.
Now, tell us, what is your title of Dean of Academic Affairs? What does that entail?
Yeah, so I'm responsible for all of academics, ensuring that the academic policies and procedures are enforced and carried out appropriately based on DeVry University requirements for 3 locations in the Washington, D.C. metro, as we call it, area.
Right.
We have a location in the Arlington, Virginia area, Manassas, as well as Bethesda, Maryland.
Okay. Now, what are some of the programs that DeVry offers?
Well, we have several colleges. We have the College of Engineering and Information Sciences, College of Business and Management, College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. More related to the College of Engineering and Information Sciences, we have engineering technology degrees, computer information science degrees, as well as network system administration degrees, more or less, IT technology related.
Now, what's the average length that it takes a student to complete those programs?
That varies by program. Typically, if it's a bachelor's degree, that's 125 credit hours, and you can complete those credit hours in 3 years. If it's an associate's degree, that's about 65 to 69 credit hours, and that's about 1.5 years.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Now, what can students expect once they enter those doors at DeVry University?
They can expect what I would consider a one-stop shop. Our mission at DeVry University, as well as within the Washington, D.C. metro, is to help our students achieve their educational and career goals. So all departments work at ensuring students are successful, from admissions when they enter and until when they graduate, with respect to the support that's provided by the Career Services Department.
Right, and now, what other services do you offer outside of the Career Service Department that keep students, to retain students at DeVry?
That's a great question, and persistence, as I like to call it, student success is really important. We have a department called Student Central In Student Central, that's like that one-stop shop where students actually work with a dedicated student success coach or a student financial consultant. The student success coach is that individual that will really help the student with academic issues, advisement, concerns there, can direct the student appropriately if they don't have the answers to assist that student, and they can get that assistance via associate deans or faculty members. And of course, the student financial consultant, of course, is an expert in any financial aid needs or questions that may arise.
Now, I'm sure you get this question oftentimes as being the Dean of Academic Affairs. How does DeVry develop courses? I mean, what kind of formula do they follow to offer courses in their catalog every year?
Yeah, that's another great question, Harry. We have a department up in Chicago that's responsible for our curriculum development. And a lot goes into how you develop a curriculum, a set of courses for a degree program. There are some things that will never change when you think of math, science, physics, from a science perspective, English. Those things don't change. But if you look at core courses, say, for instance, related to some of the engineering technology degree programs, cybersecurity will be a great example of something that's new. And that's more related to market analysis. But we want to make sure all the courses are well grounded in the theory. And we do definitely consider what employers are telling us as well to make sure that our graduates are meeting the needs of one of our key stakeholders, and that's the employers that will be hiring the graduates.
How does DeVry prepare students for the IT workforce?
That's based on the curriculum, right? Real world curriculum. Students come in day one where they actually get exposed to those career-related courses immediately. And that's a little different, say, for instance, from some of the other institutions of higher learning. But they also take their, what I would consider social sciences, humanity courses in parallel with those core courses. But they get exposed day one. Another one of those differentiators that I like to speak about with respect to DeVry University, our faculty members are credentialed from an educational perspective with that master's degree in the field in which they're teaching. Many have that doctorate degree, but they have significant years of experience in the workplace. So they can bridge the gap in that classroom with respect to what I like to consider the why theory and how what they'll be doing when they get on the job. I think that's really important.
I'm sorry, what is the why theory?
The why is just the theory behind the courses that they're taking when you just learn just theory, and not how to actually apply it. That's the how.
And now, how can students prepare themselves for entering DeVry?
You have to be a high school graduate or, of course, a GED as that equivalent. There are admissions tests that students take to make sure that they're placed in the appropriate courses to make sure that they're set up for success. And if there are any deficiencies, say for instance in math and English, they can take developmental courses that can help them get on track so that they can get into that first course, first one or two courses related to their degree program that's going to get them to the end goal, and that's graduation.
And just in closing now, what other information would you want to provide for viewers about DeVry?
I would say DeVry University, we have a history of 82 years educating students as an institution of higher learning. We have over 255 graduates, and we're the leader in career-focused education. Currently, we have over 63,000 students attending on-site and online classes with over 90-plus locations and over 90-plus locations.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I would like to thank Dr. Wright for joining us. To learn more about DeVry University, visit our credits or visit them on the website. Also, stay tuned. There's a video that we want you to watch.
Welcome to the National Capital Radio and Television Museum here in Bowie, Maryland. My name is Brian Belanger. I'm the director on a volunteer basis. Glad you chose to visit the museum today. Let me tell you a little bit about the history of this place. This is a rather unusual museum in that we are trying to explain the history, the development of radio and television technology and its impact on society by having exhibits, by having educational programs. The museum has been in existence since about 1999. We have a partnership with the city of Bowie whereby the city rents us this building for a modest rent. They provide the snow plowing and grass cutting and maintenance on the building. And we present the exhibits, we keep the museum going here. We're predominantly volunteer oriented. We do have one part-time paid staff member, but it's primarily a volunteer effort. So as I said, the museum has been here since 1999. We do have changing exhibits. We have a wonderful volunteer corps who help us to keep the place going. We've recently developed some new programs for children because we do have a lot of kids visiting the museum, particularly groups like Cub Scouts and Brownie Troops. And so we've recently established a special tour for elementary school age kids in which we use the Maryland state standards to help kids get a better education in science and technology. We explain things like sound waves and radio waves, let the kids see what their voices look like on a device called an oscilloscope. And so the kids definitely enjoy that. We do charge because that's a special tour. We also have a program we're working on now to have a summer camp at Bowie State University in the summer of 2014. It'll be a 2-week program that involves kids learning about the technology of radio and television and also some cultural aspects. So for example, the children will be disassembling a radio because kids love to take things apart. They'll be building a new radio. They will be help to understand some of the concepts that underlie the technology of radio and television. But there'll also be some cultural parts of that too, because for example, we will be having the children listen to old radio programs from the 1940s. We'll ask them to critique those programs. How are they different from the things that kids watch on television today? We'll also encourage the kids to write a radio script of their own, produce a radio show, learn how to do sound effects. We'll record that so that the kids will be able to take something home to play for their parents and show what they've accomplished. So our purpose is to help educate people about the importance of radio and television in our society, to explain how the technology is involved. And if you come to visit the museum, one of our volunteers will be happy to take you through on a guided tour, demonstrate some of the equipment. Let me show you some of the kinds of things that you would see if you were to come to the museum and take a brief tour here. The room that we're in now has some of the oldest equipment in the museum, some of it dating back 100 years or more. This apparatus here is to demonstrate an experiment done in 1888, the first time that anyone had ever explored radio waves in the laboratory. You notice I have a little spark transmitter here. When I press this telegraph key, the spark jumps the gap and the little light bulb lights up to show that the radio waves are passing through this loop of wire. Now notice there's no connection between this loop of wire and the spark transmitter, but the radio waves passing through this loop generate enough electricity to light up the little light bulb. Now these are the kinds of experiments that people started doing in the late 19th century to come to the understanding that radio waves are exactly like light waves, except that we can see light waves and we can't see radio waves. Now at one time, Philco was the largest radio manufacturer in the United States. We were fortunate to find this sign in an antique store in Illinois. It was in its original factory box. I'm going to conclude our tour here in this room. This is our television room. We have some early television equipment. This machine underneath the plexiglass is a 1931 television set kit. You could purchase this kit for $12.95, put it together yourself, and see moving images in your living room, made by a company called Seall. At the time this was made, nobody knew how to make picture tubes that worked very well, and so to create the moving image they used a motor-driven spinning disc with a spiral of holes punched in the disc, a light source behind the disc. And as that disc would spin at high speed, the light would shine through the little tiny holes going by, and you would see a moving image on it. The problem, of course, was that you only got a tiny little picture. It was certainly not high definition by any means. But it was a way of seeing a moving image in your living room, and that was an exciting thing back in the 1930s. So eventually people figured out how to do picture tubes, and that took the place of the mechanical discs. But if you come to the museum, we'll demonstrate one of these for you, show you how it worked. In fact, one of the pioneers of this technology was a fellow named Francis Jenkins, who lived right here in the DC area. So This is kind of a hotbed of experimentation back in those days. Please come and visit the museum. We're open on Fridays from 10 to 5, on Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 5. It's free admission, but we do have a donation box and appreciate donations. So do come and visit, bring your family. We'd love to have you come, love to show you this old technology.
Hi, I'm Harry Washington, president of Pursuing a Dream Corporation. Pursuing a Dream Corporation is a nonprofit organization that encourages students to pursue degrees and careers in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. Those of you are familiar with those terms, it's STEM. Twice a year, we host our Career Choice Program, which is a college preparation program for ages 10 through 18. Students get an opportunity to meet STEM professionals, attend workshops, win prizes, and learn more about these careers. So join us on October the 5th at the ARC in Southeast Washington, D.C. I look forward to seeing you.